friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. So it's time to do another one of those tier rank list things, the tier maker list thing. And I found this one on the tier maker website for ECW champions. I have not done ECW world champions yet. I was a huge fan of ECW back in the day when I moved from up here in Sacramento down there to Los Angeles to go to college back in 1998. I was exposed to Extreme Championship Wrestling because up here in Sacramento, they didn't air it. I wasn't really into the tape trading thing. I didn't know much about it. I was only into wrestling for like around 2 years at that point. And then we moved to LA, and me, Larson, and Jeff all got an apartment together. And at one point at 1 o'clock in the morning, we turned on KCAL 9 and there was ECW. And it was like, whoa, what is this stuff? It looks like it's filmed in this little, tiny little, really energetic ballroom bingo hall thing. And I remember the very first match that I saw was RVD and Sabu in tag action against somebody. I don't even know who, but it was amazing. I was like, holy shit, this is fantastic stuff. And so I would watch it. We'd watch it every single week. I don't know if we were getting pay-per-views back then because that was expensive. We were college kids. But we were watching ECW, and it was just mind-blowing that this kind of wrestling existed. And so my relationship with ECW extends back to like post-Eastern Championship Wrestling, I think Shane Douglas was probably around, it was around the time he was in his long title reign, I think it was his fourth reign at that point. And so, you know, to me, those were the best days of ECW. Before like 98, 99. And then when 2000 and 2001 came around, when it really started to go downhill. And then eventually just sort of went out of business. WWE bought it. So, and I really wanted to get into WWECW later on, but it just sort of sucked. I remember watching the first one. I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. But it was quickly became very apparent that it was just not going to be great. So that's going to skew my take on this particular tier list. Here's all the players involved. You can tell, like, dude, half of these are assigned to the WWE ECW, but then ECW, the original ECW, had a lot of multiple time champions. I think Shane Douglas, I think the Sandman had it 5 times. Shane Douglas, I think, had it 4 times. That's where I'm going to be coming from. I understand a lot of you, in the comments for my previous tier list, will take me to task for changing my criteria on the fly. I totally get that. I'm going to try to work on that. This is from my standpoint. This is from my point of view. You might disagree with a lot of this stuff. I did a little bit of research. I've actually watched quite a bit of Eastern Championship Wrestling before it became Extreme Championship Wrestling for some old 10 for the win stuff that we used to do over on Going In Raw. But my heart remains with 97, 98, 99, around there. So we're going to dive into this. And as you can see, I've got 5 categories here. Legend, solid, forgettable, bad, never should have happened. I'm not sure how many never should have happens are going to be on here. I don't necessarily think, like, for example, I thought RVD, even though he was a legendary ECW champion, I'd consider him, because of what he did with the television champion, I would still consider him as ECW champion, even though he was only ECW champion. I believe for that short period of time when he cashed in at One Night Stand, because I don't think he actually won the championship before then, or am I completely wrong and he did? I remember, okay, so let's see here. Yeah, he wasn't champion. He was the very first WWE ECW champion. I would still consider him a legend. I absolutely would consider Rob Van Dam a legend, even as ECW world champion. He was only champion for 20 days, but that moment in time when he challenged John Cena, they did it at One Night Stand 2005. 2006. Yeah. That was a massive, massive, massive moment for me. Plus his time in EC. I know you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to say, well, I'm not going to talk about his actual championship reign, but I am, but I'm not, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever. It's RVD. He's a legend. How are you going to criticize me for that? This one might be an unpopular opinion. Shane Douglas, dude won it 4 times. He had the record for the longest reigning ECW champion at like 400 days. I'd actually put him above RVD. I actually was a big fan of Shane Douglas. I like that he used to roll around with that cast. He seemed like a total scumbag. To me, he was ECW's version of Triple H, and I was always a huge Triple H fan. I'm going to throw this one out there as what I feel was the top legend of ECW. That's why he's the top guy in my favorite faction right now in AEW, Taz. I remember when Taz, before he won the ECW championship, he had his own title, the FTW title, and that was seen as more legitimate because nobody could take that off him than the ECW title. Taz was the fucking man back then. This dude was wrecking everybody. He was absolutely great. He was devastating. Taz is my number 1 ECW legend, just above 2 other guys right here. The Sandman, who's also a legend, had it 5 times. I think that's a record. And of course, Sabu. I'm not even sure how long Sabu had it. I do have this right here. He had it for 8 days for one run, and I know he had it for another run of 85 days. Sabu is obviously, I'm going to put him behind Shane Douglas here. He is one of the most ECW guys there ever was. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. This core group up here, in my mind, they are all absolute legends. Another guy I'm going to put up here, but sort of at the tail end of legend, is going to be Raven. This dude, he was one of my favorites. I didn't even know about him until WCW. Then I went back and I watched a bunch of his old stuff in ECW, and it was absolutely fantastic. Another guy who I got to put up here as legendary status. He's not in great favor right now with people, but I feel the need to do it, would be Tommy Dreamer. Because Tommy never accepted being ECW champion. I think it was like his choice. He would always tell Paul Heyman, no, I'm not going to be ECW champion. I want that to be my story, that I'm always going after it. And then eventually he did get it. And I think he only had it for less than a day or something. I forget how that worked out. Yeah, it was on the same episode. Just Incredible then took it from him, and he held it for 160 days. I'm going to put Joe and Terry Funk. Terry Funk I'll put him I'll put him just above Raven. Terry Funk was the guy who really put ECW on the map, in my opinion. He was the guy who was there from the very beginning, and he saw it through to become an absolute legend of ECW. These guys right here, they are clearly the legends of ECW. 2 guys I'm going to put at the top of the solid is going to be Mike Awesome and Masato Tanaka. I don't really know I was always a bigger Tanaka fan than Mike Awesome, but they had one of the all-time rivalries in ECW, so I definitely put them up there. Close to legend, but not necessarily legend. Another guy I'd put there up there in solid to be Just Incredible. He had it for a really long time. He got it when they were really trying to hold things together. They were really trying their damnedest to hold things together. Rhino, the last dude holding it down there in ECW. I'm going to give him that status. Unfortunately, a lot of the early guys, I can't really label them as bad because Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I mean, in terms of holding it down in the early days, he was there. He was always there. He was the guy holding it down all the time. Johnny Hotbody, I mean, it's forgettable. You could put that under never should have happened, but I don't want to disrespect the guy. I'm fine. Look, off the bat, we'll put this dude here. We'll put Vince McMahon never should have happened. And in fact, he's the only guy I'm going to put there. I'll put Hager here at bad. I'll put, see, I wasn't really watching ECW. And again, this is going to be my own personal bias. There are certain guys down here who I feel it was cool that they were ECW. Like, for example, this is maybe the only guy who I'll put here, and I know I'm going to catch flack for this, but CM Punk as a solid ECW champion, this dude really, like, when he got the ECW championship, was like, okay, he seems like he would be legitimately, like, I don't even know how long did he have it for? He had it for 140 days, all right? He seemed like ECW material. Like, if he was born 10 years earlier, he would have been totally an ECW guy. Bam Bam Bigelow, I don't even think Bam Bam had it for that long, to be honest with you. I mean, Bam Bam was a pretty big name, but he only had it for 45 days. I'm going to put him there in forgettable. Let's see here. Who is this? Is this Carino? I always liked Carino. I always thought he was cool. He only had it for like 2 months, but I always dug him. I'd put him here up at solid, at the tail end of solid. I'd do that. Let's see here. Who we got here? We got Don Morocco, and this is, I know who this is. This is Tito Santana. God, how long did he even have it for? He had it for a month, and it says here that he forfeited the belt because he didn't like Paul Heyman. So I'm just gonna put him in as forgettable. Fuck it, I'll put him under bad. Let's see here. Mikey Whipwreck. I know a lot of people would probably consider him a legend. I'll put him up here because he was one of the hotter stories in ECW. I'm going to put him up here. I don't think he had the title for that long because the dude, like, his whole gimmick was like he really was not supposed to be champion. Yeah, he was champion for 40 days. It was a great story. It was a really cool story, but, like, come on now. And then we had Don Morocco, who I think Don Morocco held it down for a while. Let's see here. Don Morocco held it down for 47 days and then again for 127 days. Again, he was one of the old school guys who just sort of held it down. This is back when it was Eastern Championship Wrestling, so you could classify it as forgettable. I'll put it the tail end of solid because there was like no one else at the time. At the time, I think the TV title was a bigger deal because guys like Sandman and I think like RVD had it. Nah, that was a little bit later. Then there's the question, what do we do with this last batch of ECW champions? I know all these guys are proud champions. Ezekiel Jackson was the last, the final one. I feel like that's relatively forgettable, though. I will say this about Bob Lashley. I'm going to put Bob Lashley up here because that dude did represent ECW in a solid, legit way. He really did. Big Show only got it because they needed to take it off RVD, although I feel like Big Show, I'll put him at the tail end of solid because the Big Show is one of those guys that if Heyman had him in ECW, he probably would have been champion a lot there. Kane, just, how long was Kane ECW champion? I mean, at that point, I actually always kind of appreciated John Morrison as ECW champion. Let's see here. Yeah, he got it because Benoit was supposed to get it. So, I mean, that probably literally never should have happened. It's hard to put that at forgettable. I'll just sort of put it. You know what? He was also a guy. I'll put Morrison at solid. They were trying to keep the brand down at that point. I mean, when Christian had it, bad. Mark Henry, I feel like he would have been a good ECW guy. Chavo, I'm sure probably a lot of people dig Chavo. Matt Hardy, probably, I don't know. Like, again, my own personal bias. At that point, I was like, really? Matt Hardy? Who cares? I don't care about that. I'll put him here as bad because I never would have been like, maybe like years earlier when he was part of Team Extreme, but like, I don't know. I just never really. Mark Henry, you know what? I'm not going to saddle these guys with bad. I'm just going to say forgettable because at this point, ECW was just forgettable. WWECW was simply forgettable, and it really never should have happened in the first place if they weren't going to go all the way with it. So you know what? I can't even put Chavo up here. I'm okay with these ones here. I'm going to put Don Morocco. He'll be here. They'll put Don Morocco there. You can't knock Don Morocco for that, right? Well, move me so you can see this list. There's the list. There it is. I feel like I did a really decent job this time of laying out my criteria and really talking about each one of these tier ranks. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I know there's going to be some of you out there who had an affinity for WWE ECW. Not I. And that's why I put that shit in forgettable with a couple small exceptions. Yeah. Anyways, hope you guys feel where I'm coming from. Watch one of these other videos right here. Once again, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. Appreciate it. Till next time, talk to you later.